Dear boomers, can boomers define what it means to go back to work on their terms in their mid-70s? Because boomers are going back to work, but this time it can be your calling. Yes, it can be. So let's talk about what happened to me just now or within the last few weeks. If you're a baby boomer and you have found yourself thinking, and you can just imagine what that might be. I'm too old to be hired. Nobody's going to hire me. It's too late to start again, and I've missed my window. I should just accept less. These are very common false beliefs that happen to people our age, but I want you to listen to me very, very carefully. This story is not true anymore, and I am living proof of that. I started my job search in the beginning of December, and I found a job that really suits me very well. I'm not saying this as an inspirational idea because I'm saying it because I am living proof. Boomers are going back into the workforce right now in record numbers, not because they want to or always want to, but often because they have to. We are outliving our incomes and our pensions because we are living longer. And now here's the twist. If you're going back to work anyway, why not do it in a way that feels aligned with who you are now? Not who you used to be. Not who you were at 40 or even 50, but who you are today, a wiser, clearer, more emotionally intelligent, and far less willing to waste your life doing something that drains your energy. Please subscribe to the channel, and I would love to have you comment down below. So I recently got hired for a job that feels like it was made for me, not because it's easy, not because it's glamorous, but because it matches something deep within myself. I also was offered a job going out into this horrible weather and seeing patients in their home. But this job is remote and it's completely home-based, and it lets me stay home with my aging dog, who I do worry about because when pets get older, their comfort becomes sacred. And in fact, Pearl is lying right at my feet. And I also have my little Boston Terrier, who is a guy with opinions, and he demands constant attention in subtle ways, not often in obnoxious ways. So I moved my office to a place where he can sleep right next to me all day long. Or wherever I go, he goes. Pearl is more independent, but she still needs me very much. And that might sound like a small detail, but it is not. Because when you reach a certain age, your life is no longer about proving yourself. It's about designing a life that actually feels like peace on earth, like inner peace, like your harmonious heart beating kind of thing. But today I'm going to share why boomers are returning to work, why this moment is different than any other time in history, and how you can find a job that resonates with your deeper calling, not just your resume. So let's talk about it. No, not you. Part 1, why boomers are going back to work. Why? Well, we have outlived our savings. There's a cultural shift happening quietly but powerfully. More boomers are returning to the workforce because inflation has changed the math and retirement savings aren't stretching. Healthcare costs are shocking. Divorce, death, caregiving, and family responsibilities have disrupted the so-called plan, and many boomers simply outlived what they expected their financial runway to be. Pearlie, you are not a part of this. But there's a second reason. Stop it. Stop. There's a second reason. One we don't say out loud enough. A lot of boomers aren't going back to work just for money. They're going back because they want to feel useful again. Because when you retire, you don't just lose a paycheck. Sometimes you lose identity, structure, meaning, and community, daily purpose, and even confidence. This happens to almost all of us, all the people I know. And humans were not meant to drift. We were meant to contribute. You don't stop having value at 60 or 70 or 80. You stop being recognized for it. And I believe we're in a moment when that is changing, because the world is messy right now. And messy times create demand for wise people with wise motivation. And boomers have something that younger generations don't always have yet: experience, patience, resilience, the ability to stay calm during chaos, and the courage to sit with suffering without panicking. And a lot of our peers are falling away through, death. Now, this is rare and it is needed. The big lie, no one will hire me, is a big lie. Let's talk about the fear under the surface, which is what happens with that kind of belief. The fear is, I won't be hired because I'm too old. The fear is, now listen, ageism is real, and I'm not here to sugarcoat that. But here's what also is real and true. The world is actively looking for people who can do 3 things. 1, solve problems. 2, communicate clearly and with heart, empathy, and handle complexity without falling apart. And those are boomer strengths. A lot of boomers have problems with technology, but it's possible to learn it, especially if you've lived through raising children, caring for aging parents, grief and change, job transitions, illness and recovery, marriage, divorce and reinvention and survival. All of these things have made us who we are today. And boomers do not break easily. And companies are realizing something. They don't just need workers. They need grown-ups. They need people who have actually grown up. Not everybody has, even at my age. So the new workforce is remote, mission-based, and AI-assisted. Now here's where this gets exciting. I know a lot of the boomers, my boomer friends, are not into AI. But this time in history is unlike anything we've ever lived through. For the first time, you can do meaningful work without commuting. You can do meaningful work without standing all day. And you can do meaningful work without corporate politics. And you can do meaningful work from a quiet room in your house. And for people like me, this matters deeply. And the next time I do a video, I won't do it where I'm doing it right now, because this means that Pearlie thinks that she is queen. So because I have this aging dog, and I worry about her, and I know that many of you understand that worry, that was what kind of made me find this job. When your dog is aging, you don't want to leave them for 10 hours a day. You want them to be comfortable, and you want them to be safe, and you want to be there with them, especially if she decides to pass on into the next dimension. And then there's my Boston Terrier, who has decided that my job is his job. That's funny. So now my office is arranged so he can sleep next to me. And I have to tell you this, that alone is worth everything, because his presence is soothing to me and gives me peace of mind. And that is what work should become as we age. It should become something that speaks to us, speaks to our solace, speaks to our life not as a punishment, not as an exhausting grind, but a structure that supports life, your life. Now, let me tell you what my work actually is. My job involves helping people find resources and support for situations that often feel impossible. Losing valuable help that has been there for them and now has been taken away. So I'm not giving medical advice, but I am giving something just as important: guidance and stability, emotional support, and a pathway forward. And because of my nursing experience, I can sit with suffering. I can sit with overwhelm. And I can help people organize chaos into one step at a time, one breath at a time. And the company has a platform that makes sense. It's all, of course, driven through technology. And it doesn't feel clunky and confusing. It's well designed, and it uses AI to uncover needs and possible options for help based on the person's locale. Now, that's important because AI isn't replacing human compassion, and that is something that will never be done. It's supporting the process so we can focus on what matters: human care, human clarity, and just being human support. And this is why boomers are uniquely positioned for this new era, because we're not afraid of hard things. We just need the right container. And I had faith that I could find one because I needed to. I wanted to be here with these dogs. Which brings me to this idea that your job should match your soul. Now, I want to shift into the deeper message, because this isn't just about boomers going back into the workforce. It is about bringing yourself into the moment at hand. It's about boomers going back to work differently. When you're younger, you work to prove yourself. You work to build. You work to establish identity. But now, we have to keep our brains functioning, number one. And when we work for meaning, the brain is electrified. It helps the brain resonate with your heart. And we are working for alignment and resonance. You work because something inside of you says, I still have something to give. And the question becomes this: what do I want my life to stand for now? What kind of suffering do I want to reduce? What kind of loneliness can I provide in my new situation with these patients? And what kind of people do I want to help? What kind of world do I want to serve? That is what calling is all about. We have to find our own calling. And when we find it, we have to embody it. And you don't need a spiritual awakening on a mountaintop to find it. Sometimes calling is simply this: staying calm when others panic, helping someone understand a confusing system, being the voice of reason, and being the person who follows through, being the one who doesn't quit. Calling can be practical, and often is, really. It can look like paperwork, it can look like phone calls, and it can just look like the next breath as you look around with great gratitude about what your life is about. And it can look like advocacy. It can look like one person helping another navigate complexity. And that is sacred work. So here we go. A reality check. Our system is changing. Let's talk about that. I want to say something carefully and honestly. We don't know what will happen in the future. We don't know what will happen in the political landscape. But I do know this: Healthcare resources in America are vulnerable to change because there is no healthcare plan presently in the American government. And if programs like Medicaid are reduced or restructured after future elections, then the need for advocates, people who help others find resources, will grow rapidly. And that means this kind of work is not just a job. It's a form of social support. It is care work, caring as you work. It's frontline reality. And in times like these, we need people who don't just react with fear. We need people who know how to guide others through confusion, especially, say, with the medications that people are taking. Medication after medication, they need to streamline these medicines, and that would be what I do. This is why boomers' return to work matters, because we have lived through change before. We can help others through it again, and we will, and that's what I'm doing in this new job. How you can find a job that resonates. How do we do that? If you're listening and thinking about how do I find that kind of work, you just have to put it out as an intention and go find it. Let me give you a simple framework. Identify what you've lived through and what your strengths are as you have lived through these things. Your resume isn't just job titles. Your resume is what you survived, what you learned, what you can now carry for others. Identify who you want to serve. Who is that? Not the whole world, for sure, but just one group. And give them forgiveness and love as you help them. Seniors, navigating Medicare. People dealing with illness and loss. Families in crisis, patients overwhelmed by a system, and caregivers who need support also. Choose a role that matches your nervous system. At our age, burnout is not a badge of honor, and nor should it ever be. So look for work that is remote or hybrid, emotionally aligned, and structured meaningfully for your particular needs, and it doesn't destroy your health. Speak the language of value. Instead of saying this, I'm older but still capable, say this, I bring decades of experience, calm under pressure, strong communication skills, and the ability to navigate complex situations with people who are overwhelmed. Understandably so. This is not age. This is value. And commit to learning what the world needs now, which is love, sweet love, right? AI tools. The world is using those in healthcare platforms, CRM systems, remote workflows. Don't fear them. Boomers are fully capable of learning new systems and doing it better than people who panic when things get hard. So, boomers are in a very interesting place in the existence of American history. So let me leave you with this. Boomers going back to work is not a failure. It's a reinvention. Boomers going back to work is saying that reinvention is not shameful. It's powerful. Going back to work is something that can help us support and connect as we navigate this season of life, whether it's workforce reinvention, loneliness, meaning, spirituality or health, caregiving or purpose. The landscape is ours to do, to shape, to love. You can come join us inside the Dear Boomers community. There will be a link below. And this is not a membership, it's a place where your life still matters, where your story still matters, and where your next chapter can be designed, not default, but with the insight that others in a community can provide. Thank you. Subscribe, share it with a fellow boomer who needs hope right now.